Welcome to the Greenway Outdoors Podcast, your trusted source for outdoor information and entertainment. The Greenway Outdoors is also an internationally syndicated TV show and conservation advocate aimed at bringing millennials and Generation Z into the outdoors. Welcome to the Greenway Outdoors. The Greenway Outdoors Podcast is brought to you by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Motor Trend's Truck of the Year for the third year in a row. Bass Pro Shop and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here. And by Tracker Boats. Fish the best.
Hello and welcome to episode 65 of the Greenway Outdoors Podcast. My name is Kyle Green.
I'm AJ.
I'm Ryan.
And Jeff's not here, so let's move right along to good things. How was your guys' 4th of July weekend?
It was pretty fun.
What'd you do?
I pool partied all weekend.
Oh, must be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did pretty much what everyone in Michigan did this past weekend, just out by the lake, sitting, doing a whole lot of nothing. It was great.
I took the nieces out. Did you guys happen to see, I posted on our story, I had my two nieces here. They came to visit the studio, and then we went out and went on the boat and everything, and they did like a mimic podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'll show you right now.
Hi, welcome back to the Greenway Outdoors Podcast. I'm Kyle, Jeff, AJ, and Ryan. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about fish. How our new episode's coming out. How fun was that episode, guys? Fun.
And I mean, it was pretty cool. The topics were better. Obviously, the person filling in for Jeff did better than he ever has done.
Yeah, ever.
With quick one-word responses and no breathing into the microphone. It was a good time. We took them out on the boat. We got the new tracker out, and I got to take out the tube. And Bass Pro Shop actually makes it's called a Mach 3, and it's a tube, and it's got a lay-down section in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And the link will be in the bio for this. So if you want to buy this tube, you should check it out. But there's a lay down slot in the middle, and then there's two sit-in sections. And those sit-in sections are really cool because if you want to take – the problem with tubes is if you get a one-person tube, you can only take one person. So if you want to take one person, they could lay down up the middle and be good. If you want to take two people, you'd put them in the two sitting slots. And if you want to take three people, you'd lay one person up the middle and then two in the slot. So it's kind of like the all-around perfect tube. The kids had a blast. I made some of those ribeye steaks on the Traeger. And I also cooked some of the rainbow trout from...
Oh, nice.
Yeah, from that episode we just did in Idaho.
Yep.
So
Did you get the meat from over here?
Yeah, we've got a butcher like 2 doors down.
Yeah. Fenton Meat Market. Better than any place we have around.
Yeah, as far as steaks go and jalapeno poppers, I bought some of those too.
Quality's pretty high.
They've got bacon wrapped jalapeno poppers that they do right there.
Darn good.
Super nice people too. That kind of makes a difference. But that weekend will be nowhere near as fun as this coming weekend. Because Friday,
I'm so jealous.
which when you're listening to this, I'll be on a plane already, headed to Las Vegas to see the
Sin City.
Yeah, to spread God's word. I'm going to be going to the Conor McGregor Dustin Poirier fight. So Elisa got me tickets to that for my birthday. My birthday's the 11th, and on the 10th is the fight. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
Who you rooting for?
Who do you think I'm obsessed with Conor McGregor, so I'm gonna go with Conor McGregor.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it? We all know what he thinks. So
I think there's sometimes a little too much hype on Conor, and every time he's lost, it's been overhyped. So I think there's a little bit less hype on this one, so I'm hoping for the best because he beat Nate Diaz in 3.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping for the.
Well, yeah. In his comeback fight, he lost to Nate Diaz, came back, fought him, won. Now that was interesting because he was coming up from 145 and then fighting at 170.
Have they only fought twice?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought
They
it was
haven't
3.
had the
I thought it was-
trilogy fight yet.
Okay.
No.
I thought it was 3.
And Nate Diaz is out just losing to anyone that'll play him. So I don't see that happening anytime soon. It's always there, but I don't see that fight happening anytime soon. But I think the fact that, Conor won the first fight, when they were at 145, was that years ago,
A long time ago.
and KO'd him inside the first round. And then the second time they fought, Conor won the first round pretty handily. If you look at the scorecards, too, I think all three judges had it 10-9, which sounds close, but if you don't know anything about fighting, 10-9 is like a decent win for that round. The second round he was doing good, but he just chopped down the front leg. I honestly think it will be relatively easy for Conor to come back, change up stances. I don't even think Dustin will throw the calf kick.
I was wondering how that was going to go out.
I don't think he'll throw it this time. So that was basically what knocked out Conor last time was the calf kicks. He hit it. Dustin just kept kicking the calf kick and taking the punches, but Conor rang his bell. He did an interview with Joe Rogan, Dustin Poirier did, and he's like, if he would have followed up on me when he rang my bell, I was out. I was out on my feet for a few seconds. So, I feel like Conor will be in a death kill mode, and I think that he'll knock him out again inside the first round, and just like he did the first time, just like he did the second time, but this time I think he'll follow up on it.
You say death kill mode. Why isn't he in death kill mode every single time? Because if that's his death kill mode, like he should be winning.
I think his leg just didn't work.
His leg worked perfectly when that fight started.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. But I'm saying, like, once he rang his bell.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think Dustin's going to pull through. And
how do you think it'll happen, though?
It would be hilarious if he kept doing the kicks. Comes right back in and just destroys that leg all over again. He's like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Because all you can do is you can only block with your leg, the leg kick. There's only so much you can protect yourself from someone who knows how to kick. They're going to destroy your leg. After a while, no matter what.
There was a guy that actually had a guy try and calf kick him, and he checked the kick. And when they check the kick, you basically turn your leg outward, so it's bone on bone, and it hurts them just as much as it hurts you, if not more. And it's called checking the kick. That's what Ryan's referring to. But what's crazy is this guy, he checked a kick on somebody at some point, and when they did, their shin just shattered and exploded and bent sideways and went crazy. And then a couple months ago, that same guy that did it to someone that had it done to him, and then his leg shattered and exploded. That was the crazy one that I said you're not going to be able to watch this with a straight face.
No, it's true.
So that was
the first UFC fight to be won without throwing a single punch, wasn't it?
Yep. It was like
really?
it was the first KO without a strike thrown was what it was, how they worded it.
Okay.
But yeah, first KO without a strike thrown.
Well, would it be TKO?
Yeah, technically.
Yeah.
I technically. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't get me wrong, I'm a Conor fanboy, so I'm jaded. But AJ taught me how to bet online today, so that's the direction my life's going at this point.
Same here. Vegas has Poirier winning, so that means hopefully we get a good payday.
So what are your bets?
I actually did a little. I feel like for a newbie, I got a little tricky. First of all, they said they were going to match your bet. So then AJ got on the phone and acted like he was me and complained because they weren't matching it. And they ended up working it out where even if I lose, I get my money back because it's my first bet. So it's like basically no risk.
Yeah, risk-free.
Yeah, so that's what it's called. So I got that promo, so I was like, all right, I'll just do that. So I bet $150. I didn't bet very much money.
Mm-hmm.
I bet $50 on the fact that Conor would win via TKO, submission, whatever. So if I win that one, I win like $120 profit. Then on the I bet a first round TKO by Conor, and then 50, and then I bet the other 50 second round TKO by Conor. So the most money I'll win off the $150 would be like $700 if he wins in the second round. I'd win like $500 if he wins in the first round.
Yep.
And if he just wins, I get like $100. I get my money back plus $100 or something like that. But I get my money back no matter what if I lose. So yeah, I was like, all right. And then
that's not that bad.
Yeah, but you, everyone's like, you almost don't want to say like you're betting too, especially online. It has like a really stingy feeling to it.
I know.
And
it's
I'm not.
New thing.
I'm not a gambler
it's
at
a little
all.
Too easy.
Yeah, I don't gamble at all. I think it's funny though that I wouldn't want to say I don't gamble because we buy Bitcoin, we buy Bitcoin Cash, we buy Bitcoin SV.
Yeah.
We invest in stocks, and like if you invest in stocks, you're looked at like a really smart person
you're
who's
a genius.
investing, and you're like responsible.
He manages money well.
Right, you bet on a fight, and you're like the worst person that ever existed. Cause
I mean,
I know more about the fight than I do the company I'd be investing in.
Which makes more sense to
I'm better off.
Invest in the fight. I mean, I don't get it. It's both of them are gambling.
Mm-hmm.
It's just all the people who run the world were able to turn it into something to get your money and look good.
It's crazy too. Like this is way off topic, and then we'll swoop back. But then I was thinking about 401ks and stuff like that because this whole online gambling, I didn't even know it was legal.
It's
in Michigan.
So AJ just showed me, and I didn't even know it was legal. And they make you download a software to prove you are where you say you are.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like in the state you are and stuff. And I'm like, all right, I'm never doing this again. But I'm either gonna get my money back or I'm gonna make money, and then I'm
It's
done.
too easy.
Yeah. So I was thinking about though. I was like, when you own a company like we own the show and this business, you know, all the risk is on you, and you realize like how temperamental business is, how difficult business is, how unlikely it is to succeed, how hard it is to succeed and make it. When you work for someone else, you're basically rolling the dice that they're so much smarter than you that they're going to make the right decisions, and then that you call that job security, where you just live in a world where you're hoping that working for somebody else is like they got it all together. And then the 401k is exactly the same, where you're giving people money that are promising they're going to take some of it out of it from you. They're going to take that to pay themselves, and then they're going to gamble with your money in the stock market. But they're like, they'll do it safely, and they're supposedly better at it than you.
Yeah.
But if it crashes, it crashes.
Yeah,
so like as an employee, if you drew it up on paper and you're like explaining it to a 12-year-old, you're like, all right, you're going to work for me, and if I make all the right decisions, you'll be all right. But if I don't, you're in trouble. And then for your retirement after you're done working, you need to put all your faith in me again. And if that doesn't work, you're just out of luck. But there's this thing called Social Security that's also probably going to run out, so you probably won't have that either. So in all in, knowing about what you're betting on or knowing about what you're investing in or managing your own affairs and being dedicated to it, I feel like is probably your best bet.
Yeah. So moral of the story is just go sports gambling.
Yeah. We got to put like the legal promo. Like, if you have a gambling problem, call this number.
Keep in mind, we haven't mentioned anywhere about betting because truthfully, I'm not a big believer in it or against it or anything like that. I wouldn't want to do it. If I go to a casino the 2 or 3 times I have in my life, if I lose $50, I feel sick to my stomach. Yeah. So I'm not made for it. Yeah. I'm really not made for it. But speaking of gambling, have you ever heard of Frogger, the video game?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I heard about this bear in Alaska that's really bad at that game.
Oh, you heard about it?
Yeah. Go ahead, Ryan. It's Ryan's story. I just been waiting all day to make that reference.
Yeah. Well, this Frogger bear, his trip didn't end up so well. There was this poor brown bear, we have a few pictures of it, who was making his way across this runway.
Would he be considered a brown or a grizzly?
I think he's a brown bear.
Isn't it dependent on like geographic where they are?
Well, he was in Alaska, so I don't know.
Okay.
It's always gotten, I don't know.
He was brown in shade.
Yeah, yeah. He looked brown, so brown bear.
Got it.
Could be grizzly. I don't know.
Let's go ahead.
Anyways, so he's crossing the runway. He did not check both ways before he went across, and an airplane found him. And thankfully, it wasn't the front wheel. It was the engine. I think it was the right engine that had just clipped the top of him.
Was the plane taking off or leaving?
I think it was landing.
Was it taking off or leaving? Was it coming in?
That's still high. That's a high speed if it's landing.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is that, like 600 miles an hour?
No.
500?
I don't know. It depends.
So that's in the air, right?
Maybe in knots.
Landing.
No, but in the air they're going like 500 or something like that, isn't
somewhere. It just depends on the plane.
Okay.
I don't know the size of this plane.
Okay.
I know it was a commercial plane, but which size, I don't know. But it was at the perfect height to take this thing out and bonked him in the head, and he was done so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how loud that would have been before it happened.
Yeah, I mean, I bet the passengers probably felt it upon impact.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like, how do you not hear the plane coming?
Yeah.
Probably, if he lives in that area, he's probably hearing that all day long. Think about how...
Could have been a snowy evening, low visibility.
Yeah. I don't know. But the person who was telling me about this story was saying that if that bear had just been a little bit farther across the runway and hit those front wheels, it would have taken the nose of the plane out. Yeah, landing gear out, and then it would have nosedived. Whoa. Like it would have broken.
It would have been like on a kid on the bicycle where his handlebars turn quickly and he just goes right over the front. It would have been.
That's what he was saying. So it kind of got me thinking about how many animals die due to airplanes a year, and all I could find on it was airstrikes.
Okay.
So not airstrikes like bombings, like they do in the Middle East.
Yeah. Like the guy that didn't they get like geese flew into the wings or the motors or something, and that guy had to land that plane on
Sully,
like on the river.
Yeah, Sully, that's what it was. Yeah, something like that.
Didn't they make a movie out of that?
Yeah. That was Tom
Tom
Hanks.
Hanks, yeah.
Yeah.
Wilson. That's not it.
Yeah, that's the movie.
That's it.
You got it.
So
Both plane crashes, though.
yeah. So I was looking into
Lost.
how many planes hit animals a year, and all I could find on airplanes hitting animals, not deaths, only strikes. So I don't know how many of these animals died, and it's information from 1990 to 2019. So over the span of 20 years, roughly 227,000 wildlife strikes occurred. So
What was that number again?
227,000.
What?
yeah,
250,000.
Yeah.
but who knows how many actually died? How many animals? That's
But that's how many got struck. They're counting mosquitoes though. I'm
Yeah,
just
no,
kidding.
That seems like an
I saw
excessively
I
high
saw a
number.
chart and they were like talking about reptiles count.
Mhm.
I don't think any insects counted. So
Yeah.
it was all vertebrates.
I saw those
they're
people in
counting
Florida
them on the
slinging
windshield.
those pythons into the air. And
Yeah.
getting-
Yeah. So that comes out to around 11,350 animals per year hit by planes.
That
in
means
that time span.
wow.
So
That
essentially
seems-
11,000 a year.
Yeah.
So then I looked up automobiles. How many animals die? How many animals end up as roadkill? There were statistics on that. So these animals
That's roughly 30 a day.
Yeah.
32 a day roughly.
So this is where it gets crazy. Automobiles during the height of COVID, traffic was down 73%.
Okay.
So this guy was doing estimations on how many animals would live if the percentage of traffic stayed at just 50% of what it has been in the years past.
Mhm.
And he estimates that nearly 500 million vertebrates will not be killed if traffic stays at 50% of what it used to be.
Invertebrates. So like grasshoppers.
No, vertebrates.
Oh,
And so
actual
so
vertebrates.
birds, fish, mammals, reptiles, all those sorts of things.
Wow.
500 million.
Million?
500 million just due to cars in the U.S. alone. That's only the U.S.
That's something that doesn't sound right.
It just doesn't make sense.
This was on
I'm
National
not
Geographic.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying like that sounds like the people that make the insurance premiums were the ones making the numbers.
It does.
Yeah.
actually.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's the other thing you have to think about.
That
That
little-
whoever's writing this or coming up with this, they obviously care about it in some sense. I'm sure there's some sort of agenda.
It's that dirty gecko from Geico. I
Yeah,
bet you put
yeah.
Dirty.
Yeah.
So then there were some other stats that came along with it, like 41 million squirrels, 26 million cats, 22 million rats, cat in the hat, 19 million possums,
I feel nothing for the cats. The possums are a bummer. I'm just kidding.
no.
15 million raccoons.
Are you hearing this, Inu?
Well, this one's really going to scare him. 6 million dogs a year.
Oh, Inu.
That's a lot of dogs.
Lucky for Inu, he doesn't
That-
move much.
They get hit
Yeah,
and perish?
yeah, and die.
Wow.
So that's only 6 animals, and that comes out to 129 million. So that still leaves a lot more animals to be die.
Wow.
Wow.
So
And we're worried about a population bust.
That's pretty.
Yeah.
That's pretty good information there, Ryan.
yeah,
That's a.
I had no idea that we were so dangerous in automobiles.
Well, I think the only answer is to get rid of all humans because we obviously,
It's our
we're
fault.
impacting. Yeah.
Everyone should have to walk to work.
Yeah.
Yep.
Electric cars would solve all that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
I wonder how many get taken out by self-driving cars.
That's a good question. Would a
Let's
self-driving
break it down.
would it sense a squirrel?
I
would
mean,
it just
my truck would try and stop me, right?
a squirrel?
No. My truck would. Not a squirrel. I was still thinking about hitting a deer or a dog or something like that.
Would yours?
My truck would. Yours would too, wouldn't it?
No.
When
It's
you're-
only under like 10 miles an hour.
Oh yeah, that's true. So just backing up over something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which has saved me a few times in my truck. I almost backed into a pole a few times.
So
a
far,
person.
it's only scared the bejesus out of me, but didn't need it.
Oh,
Like,
really?
Yeah, like I was backing up and there was some grass that was tall, so it saw the grass and freaked out and scared me.
I'd rather have it than not, though.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Why not?
There's sensors on the front of our Ram trucks, the front and the back, that prevent you from parking into something or
Mm-hmm.
backing up into something at slow speeds. It'll stop the truck to keep you from hitting it.
Yeah.
But pretty interesting. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So make sure you watch out for those squirrels. Don't add to that 41 million.
What's crazy is I don't think
It's on you.
I don't think I've ever hit one.
I think.
Do you know of any roadkill you've actually hit? I've never hit a deer. I've never hit a dog. I've never hit a squirrel. I've hit one bird. Got him good too.
I'm there too. I haven't hit anything like that.
I've been in a car while a deer was hit.
Same.
It was homecoming in high school. We were coming home from the game. I was with my girlfriend. She was driving. It slammed into a buck. Yeah. So she kills it and she's crying. I'm like, why are you crying? And
it was a buck?
Yeah, it was a buck. He was
how
a
big?
little spike.
Okay.
I actually have the antlers somewhere.
Oh, I remember this story, yes.
Yeah, so she hits the deer and it kind of tumbles off to the side of the road and she starts crying. I'm like, well, why are you crying? And we're like looking at the truck. We're standing outside. I was like, are you upset about your truck? She's like, no, I killed the deer. Like crying.
You're like, I do that all the time.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, well, it's
I
fine.
do it on TV.
Let's get to the dance.
It died quick, whatever. So I call my brother and he comes and picks it up and then we cut the antlers off and I gave it to her for her Christmas gift. The antlers, I put it on it like a.
They're no longer together.
No, we are not. And I still have them somewhere. Her stepdad gave them back to me.
That deer you hit? I got its head.
There's a picture somewhere of me sitting in the back of the car and my face is all painted in Fenton colors and I'm holding this deer head up.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I hope I can find it.
That's kind of cool.
It's pretty cool.
That's a grip and grin if I've ever heard of one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Speaking of wildlife, in Arizona, there's a hot topic right now. They're the first state to do a statewide, year-long, all-outright ban on trail cameras. So there are states right now that have like hybrid laws where maybe you can't use a drone, you can't use a cellular one that sends you pictures automatically, you can't use a smart one that takes video. They all have like different laws and things like that are in place. There's a few of them western states that have that. But Arizona just voted on 5-0. So the Commission of Game and Fish, they did a public-wide survey on it. And in the public-wide survey, they found that it got voted down 2-1 by the public. But that didn't stop the Game and Fish Commission from voting in favor of it 5-0.
So they overrode.
Disregarded.
The public, which I'm not always against because I do not like, for instance, we don't have dove hunting in Michigan. I talk about it all the time. We don't because we put it to a public vote.
That's
it
true.
wasn't based on science, and now we don't have a dove hunting season when we should because it's not based on science. So that is something that I personally don't like.
But then again, that was here in Michigan. That was provoked from our own DNR. They knew what the response would be if they had left it up. I feel as though they would have knew what the response would be if they had left it up to public vote.
I could not agree with you more. I couldn't, but at the same token, that's roughly how I feel. Is it should be based on science.
Yeah.
But it's also up to us to advocate to make sure that the people that are in office are making scientific-based decisions.
Yeah.
That's where this gets interesting. So, reading the articles and reading the news stories, my first inclination was to get mad. 100% on the side of
punch a wall.
Why? Yeah. My name's Kyle. I was drinking a Monster Energy and I started punching walls. No, right off the gate, my first thought was to get mad. And I was like, all right, well, we'll hear him out. So going through it, there was an interview done with the head of Game and Fish in Arizona, and I had the interview brought up, and essentially they talked to it, and there was already a ban on live action cameras. Now there's a few different reasons why. One of which is they say that it inhibits fair chase. Now,
okay.
Keep in mind we're sitting in Michigan right now. So this is their argument. If you go to Arizona, they're in the midst of a 20-year drought right now, okay? So the game in Arizona, especially big game like elk, is condensed and pushed towards water sources. So they are pushed towards water sources. Therefore, the argument is by putting game cameras out, allowing it on public or private property, by having those game cameras out, you're going to have a lot of hunter conflict with each other because they're kind of condensed to these areas. So they're putting a lot of They're putting a lot of cameras out around the watering holes, if you will. And then because of that, they talked originally. They were talking about, should we do it where we'll do something along the lines of like there has to be this much space between trail cams, or you can only check them at certain times. And they kind of played with ideas, a bunch of different ideas on how to do this. But the overall thought was they were worried, and they actually had an emergency hearing on this, saying that it was based on what they were seeing online and the way hunters were interacting with each other over trail cam photos and stuff like that. They considered it a public safety disaster, that they had to ban trail cameras as soon as possible because there would be so many conflicts with them putting pressure on game in these condensed areas. So the other thing is they felt that it wasn't, they feel it's not fair chase. They're saying that if they were in a different state, they might not say that. They might not say it's not fair chase.
Because they're all going to watering holes.
That because the trail cameras make it not fair chase, and they think it would negatively impact the game there. And that's kind of their stance on it. So the commission had previously banned live action cameras, which includes drones and cell cameras, in 2018. And with this month's vote, it has been added the conventional cameras to the list, meaning just the ones that something walks in front of it, a motion camera, it takes a picture. So the process began last October when the governor's office approved an unscheduled emergency rulemaking period based on the AZGFD's claim that trail cameras posed an immediate threat to public health and safety because of conflicts over camera placement, including disagreements on social media. In December, the commission voted to consider a potential rule change and opened a public comment period that extended from January 1st to February 1st, during which they received thousands of emails and letters and phone calls. In its initial response, the public opposed the ban by roughly 2-1 margin. In a second round of public comments, they received 1,845 comments, and 1,019 of them were against the ban. So a majority, any way you cut it, is against the ban. And so, like I said, they feel that it's putting too much stress on the species, and there are 3,100 water catchments in the state, and the vast majority of which are on public land and are mapped. So when people start placing and checking cameras on those limited water sources, there's going to be conflicts. So they said this is the what's his name? Davis is his last name. Kurt Davis. He's kind of the spokesperson for him, and he said confrontations are only part of the problem. As a commission, we also have to consider the quality of a hunter's time in the field. We have multiple seasons and in many units, and if the first season archery elk hunter is out hunting, and then the third season rifle hunter is coming in and putting trail cameras in these limited areas, then he's disrupting the other hunts. In addition to this information, they said that they have a lot of new hunters that they didn't have before. So the number of new hunters in Arizona is skyrocketing right now. So it's like too much all at once is the way they see it. So that's their debate on it.
The Greenway Outdoors is brought to you by Ram Trucks, built to serve, Motor Trend's Truck of the Year for the third year in a row, and by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here. If you'd like to help support the Greenway Outdoors, please like and comment on this podcast and subscribe to all of our channels.
So what if you're just using a camera just to enjoy nature?
Yeah, so that as far as they put it, that it's in any way, shape, or form to pursue or to track or anything like that with game.
To harvest the animal.
Yeah.
If that's your intention and you're using a trail cam, then it's not allowed.
Yeah, but if you go out there with a trail camera right now, you're going to get a ticket no matter what your intentions are.
Right. I mean,
'cause they're saying
that'd be a hard one to escape. Be like,
and
no, it's just for fun.
They call it, they say preseason, during season, and postseason you can't do it. So they might as well just say year round.
I feel like it should be like a temporary ban because hopefully the rain comes back. But like you said, 20-year drought.
Aren't all laws temporary bans?
Yeah.
There you go.
You can just get rid of them.
Yeah. Executive order even. Just sign away.
At first listen, when you hear like they're banning cameras, you're immediately like, oh, that's ridiculous. Screw that. Then you kind of get into it a little bit more, and there is some, I can see why it's a thing. But in the end, though, it's like if you're out bird watching and taking pictures of birds, is DNR going to come up and look at your camera and make sure you're not taking, scouting pictures potentially of land?
Right. And then it's not illegal to go scout, though.
Right.
See, they're talking about like the trail camera. So it's starting to break down these arguments now. So the one about the hunter going in and disrupting the other hunter because he's going to check trail cameras. Well, if a hunter is walking out onto public land to put out a camera, and use that camera to get those pictures and stuff like that. He's going to put in the work to scout, right? Like, he's willing to do that. Why wouldn't it mean that now he's going to spend more time there disrupting hunts because he has to scout harder? He has to spend more time out there to gather more information because he doesn't have the trail camera anymore. Wouldn't mean that.
Maybe they're taking the gamble that a lot of these people don't have the time to do that. They're just going out on their weekend, one weekend a year that they can go, and that's as much like that's the gamble they're taking.
And think about that you're saying that's their gamble. So their gamble is the hope that less people will go out and enjoy nature, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
They'll spend less time out there. And isn't the whole point of us funding the Department of Natural Resources with our hunting and fishing licenses? They have more funding than they've ever had if there's more hunters than they've ever had. So they're getting more funding, and now they're tightening things down, gambling, hoping it'll keep people out of the woods.
Yeah.
That seems weird.
We have a friend that lives there and does elk hunts. It'd be worth I might call him just to see what his opinion on the whole
Isn't
matter
that the
is.
one he does mountain lions too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
His name's Brian Joseph.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to talk to him. We still have never put that mountain lion hunt together.
No. He's a cool dude.
I'd like to go in December or January is supposed to be the best time.
He knows his stuff. But yeah, it'd be worth calling him to see what his perspective on it is, just because he's so tied up in all that. And the other thing about this, are they more concerned about hunter conflict or making the chase harder for the animal?
They made it sound like it was a combination of that. They couldn't. They're like, here's the 3 or 4 reasons why.
Because if they were worried about like the pursuit of the animal being easier, why wouldn't they just lower the amount of tags they're putting out there?
Right. I don't think hindering a hunter's likelihood of success is smart.
I don't think so
Why
either.
wouldn't they just sell less tags? Although, think about it. They sell less tags, they make less money. They probably don't want to lose that aspect.
Right.
So they need to, if they're
so they just need to do something to make it harder.
Yeah. It's just, to me, I don't think stopping trail cams is like lowering the success rate, hypothetically, of the person that buys a hunting license. Ironically, the only time I've ever used trail cams, I didn't harvest a deer there.
That is true.
And I had all kinds of pictures.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, well, I can't hunt at night, so that's all I've learned.
Yep.
Just kidding. Kind of kidding. So that's something to think about there. So going over it, my opinions on it are, I think, Ryan, you have something there. If they're worried about the ease of the hunting, or too many people pressuring one area, or that sort of thing, I don't think banning trail cams or using trail cams is a likely way to solve that problem. I do not believe that trail cams necessarily, I don't think they make that big a difference, I guess is what I want to say. I think if you are using trail cams, you're one of 2 people.
Yep.
And I'm going to say this. You're either on your own private land, you're likely using bait or making mock scrapes, and you've got a game trail that you're pretty sure is good, and you're putting it there, and you're just seeing what's on your property, and you've got 50 acres to hunt anyway, so you're going to be sitting somewhere on that 50 acres. You might increase your likelihood of seeing that deer by 10%, and that's probably group 1. Group 2 is a rare group and a small group of people that are going out on public land, hightailing it across the country, risking their trail cam that they're leaving on public property to not be stolen, to not be found, and doing it often enough to, and getting far enough away from so many people that their trail cam isn't stolen, that because they always get taken, which is messed up. Like, I really hate that.
Yeah.
You know, it really.
What are you doing?
It kind of hurts me when I hear about all the stories of people taking them. I just feel like that group of people that are using those trail cameras, that are putting in that work and effort, shouldn't have it taken away from them.
No.
And if your fear is how people are interacting, and like their fear is like, oh, there's going to be conflict with guns because there's people disputing trail cameras or this or that or whatever it might be. I mean, those things are going to get worked out one way or the other, and I just don't think there's not a lot of scenarios that I could see. I mean, people argue online. People online are different than they are in person. So I think that's important to note to make.
A lot of times with people that we encounter that show us their trail cams, they're always looking for a specific, we'll say, deer. Like, oh, there's that deer that I'm hoping to
That's
get.
true.
And they're always looking for that one specifically when they're out hunting.
Yeah. If anything, they're more picky.
Yeah.
Because they know what's there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would say that too.
Yeah.
That's a great point, AJ. So I just feel like those two groups of people that this impacts, that I think I did a decent job describing, and I'm sure there's a third group and everyone will hate me, but I'm going to say 95% of people are going to fall under one of those two groups. And I don't think that those two groups are going to cause a whole lot of conflict with guns and with each other. And just because people are trolling each other online, let me post a picture of a fish and see what happens online from other fishermen because I held it wrong or I used the wrong hook or, they wouldn't have kept it, and let them go, let them grow. I just can't wait to hear all the crybabies in the hunting and fishing industry, the old timers that hate everything about us just because we're young. So it doesn't, that I'm unaffected by that. And I think this is and the fact that I think that the reason why I'm most irritated by it is the rush for public safety.
That one kills me.
Shut up.
Why don't they do it like you know how we go to the Point Mouillet? It's a duck that you do the draw.
Yep.
And why don't you put in for a year ahead of time? You pick the amount of tags, the amount of people that can be chosen. Whoever's chosen first gets their first pick of where they want to go in the state and when they can be there. And then from that point on, depending on when you were drawn in the list, that changes maybe what zone in the state you get and what 2 weeks you're able to go into that spot.
Yeah, and I mean, they have different seasons, and they have different, like, first season, second season, third season, fourth season, and they kind of separate things that way. And, I mean, that's basically what they're working on. I think what they're worried about isn't necessarily when you can go in and hunt. It's when you're going in and impacting things. So if, by going off of what you're saying, perhaps if you have this elk tag for this week, then you're only allowed in, like, 4 days prior and 4 days after or something like that to minimize that. That would work. But I want people to go out and enjoy lands. I want public lands that are funded by the people that they're doing their darndest to make sure that they can't, you
also have to respect
conflicts.
the population.
I also don't believe in government deciding to try and soften and weaken possible conflicts between adults. Like, well, they won't be able to handle this. These conflicts will be just too great for them, and they'll start shooting each other over a camera.
How are you making these choices?
I don't need someone to babysit me to that level.
No.
So I guess if I had to vote on it, I would vote no.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no too.
Yeah, but I think I did a good job of at least there is another argument. Like the other side has a decent argument. I just don't think that's the way to fix it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I would like to see a different route. I was watching True Grit, and the girl in that got bit by a snake, and John Wayne guy, what's his name? Jeff, who played the guy in the new True Grit?
I don't know. I didn't see the old one.
Jeff
Bridges
cut the girl and then sucked the blood out.
Yeah, that's a myth. So
Okay.
do you actually know what you're supposed to do in a situation like if you get bit by a venomous snake?
No.
There's like a whole thing.
I've seen like little skin plungers.
Yeah, that's almost never the right move.
Coyote does it on YouTube.
Stop learning how to save your life from YouTube, okay? But watch our YouTube video to learn how to save your life right now. So what to do if you get bit by a venomous snake? I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. Number one, the first thing you need to do is try and identify the snake, even if that's just taking a mental image. So if you snap a picture, if you take a mental image, whatever.
While you're freaking out?
Yeah, while you're freaking out, while you're losing
while your arm's turning black.
Yeah. So you want to be able to try and identify the snake, but there are some things that you can do that I'm going to mention that you can help the doctors identify it later on if you should not get the mental view that you need. So
it's another case of the movies not being accurate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Do not suck the venom out. Do not cut the wound at all. And if anything, that'll just add adrenaline to the system. So first thing you need to do is sit down, keep calm, and keep the wound below heart level. So a lot of times it's going to happen on your leg. It's going to happen on your hand when you're reaching over to grab something. It's very unlikely that you're bit in like the neck or something, unless it's a movie. So
if you get bit on your hand, since you probably
remain calm.
Yeah, you'll want to do a handstand with your hands on the ground.
Gravity.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll want to sit down and keep calm. Now here's what a lot of people don't know is that the stress of being cut open or having the blood sucked out or whatever other kinky things you're into, if those things happen, you could be you're spiking your heartbeat, which means your blood's being pumped around faster, which means the venom's getting moved around faster, could get to your heart, could kill you. So you want to keep as calm as possible. They say take deep breaths, blow out slowly.
You're not going to die yet.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually pretty good. You're not going to die yet. So stay calm, sit down, and keep your extremity, which is most likely where you got bit, below heart level.
So there's no like on-site way of potentially extracting.
You're not going to extract it. Absolutely not. And here's why you don't want to. So next thing is to try and obviously call 911. Under no circumstances should you run. If you run, you could kill yourself. So you got to send someone else to go get an ambulance, go get help, get the phone call out, whatever you got to do. But you shouldn't be walking, and you damn sure shouldn't be running.
Yeah.
Running.
Another reason why you don't go into the woods alone.
It sounds like it's the same advice you get when you give blood. Don't do this, and that, because you'll just pass out. So if you get bit by a snake, just do whatever it is after you give blood.
Yeah.
Just be as lazy as possible.
Yeah. So call 911. Now,
eat those cookies.
Now, if you're looking at, you can eat cookies, but if you're looking to take the edge off, do not do it with alcohol. That too will thin out your blood, and it will speed it around.
Streamline it.
Same thing with caffeine. So you can't. Don't drink a wilderness athlete, pre-workout after you get bit by a venomous snake. You want to do not drink caffeine. Do not drink alcohol. So one of the things that happens when you get bit by the snake too is there's always a massive amount of swelling. So if you have any, let's say you got your hand, get any rings off, bracelets, anything like that, because you don't want them to have to cut them off once the hand.
Which they will.
Yeah, once it swells up and everything like that. So remove jewelry. Now here's something that's interesting. I read from the CDC, they say wash it out with soap and water. But then I upon further research, I found some people that said don't do that. And I'm leaning towards don't. Here's why. They said wrap the wound in any kind of gauze or fabric or whatever and hold it tight to it. Do not make a tourniquet. Don't do that. That doesn't work. Just hold pressure on it because it'll help keep the venom from spreading outward in your body. By keeping the pressure on it in the cloth, keep the cloth too. Because then when you go to the hospital, God forbid,
can do a toxicology.
Exactly. They can tell you tell you what venom it is so that they can help you with that. Now, the next step is to, once you get to the hospital, if you're still alive, is to and basically at the end of the day, any way you cut it, about only 20% of the snakes in the United States are venomous. So most of them you'll survive the bite as well. They're not deadly, but you could die, especially if it gets to your heart or you have a reaction of some sort. God knows Jeffrey's probably allergic, probably swelled up like he got stung by a wasp.
Rattlesnakes venom?
Venomous? Yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Rattlesnakes.
I couldn't remember.
Water moccasins are.
The smaller the snake, the more dangerous too, because they can't control the amount of venom they're pushing into you as well as a large one.
Like scorpions.
Yeah. There's something called the dry bite. So a snake could bite you and not release venom. It's more like a get away from me.
Mm-hmm.
But you're supposed to go in anyhow. But if the feeling that you'll have if you get bit by a venomous snake is within 15 to 30 minutes, there'll be a really strong burning sensation around the wound, and it'll start to swell.
Okay.
So that tells you like you probably got venom. You may have gotten a dry bite, but that's just a wishful thinking, like a Conor McGregor knocking him out in the second round.
There you go.
Yeah. Isn't it fascinating? An animal just makes a little
Well,
bit of liquid that
blood
lays you
cocktail.
out 6 feet under.
Yeah.
Say goodbye.
Yeah.
Now I've actually heard you mentioned the smaller snake being more dangerous because they're not as able to manage it. That is true, and I have heard that. However, they also don't make as much. So
That's true. Yeah.
So it's like true but not true.
So it's like it almost as if it equals itself out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in a way. So the bigger one can control it, but he also packs a much bigger punch if he wants to.
Yeah.
So that's that. Now, all of the snakes in North America that are venomous have a triangular shaped head, with exception to the coral snake, which is more rounded.
Mm-hmm.
So they have rounded head and eyes. So if you see a triangular head and slits for eyes, you can pretty much run. Dun 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 dun. Dun. That's likely to be a venomous snake then.
Okay. And then there's the Michigan hognose that sits up like a king cobra and flattens its head
That
out. That
thing's-
thing looks so scary.
Yeah.
But it's harmless.
Oh, really?
Harmless. Yeah, it could bite you, but it's not going to do anything. No venom.
Michigan.
I'd get
hognose?
checked just because of how scary it looks. Yeah, the hognose snake is pretty cool. We're probably showing you a picture of it right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're a really, really cool snake. Honestly, they're one of my favorites just because they're so intimidating looking.
Yeah.
First time I saw it and he's fanned out, I'm like, what is this, a cobra?
Yeah, in Michigan.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. So another thing I want to touch on, we touched on this probably about 50 podcasts ago, but how they actually make anti-venom. So
Oh, yeah.
what happens is when you go to the hospital, if they can identify what snake it is, they inject you with anti-venom. And that to you just sounds like medicine and it goes away and that's that. But it's actually more complicated than that. So the way that they actually make anti-venom would make a vegan cry. So what they'll do is they'll inject a horse with the venom of snakes. The specific one, let's say they're making an anti-venom for this rattlesnake. They'll inject it into a horse, and the horse are really great about making antibodies to fight that off. But obviously they're suffering, right? And then we take the antibodies out of the anti-venom out of their blood and make the anti-venom. So horse gets injected, fights it off, builds the antibodies to fight the venom. They make anti-venom. We take their blood back out, and then we spin out all the stuff that we need, and then that's how we make anti-venom, by torturing
Is it called
horses.
anti-venom?
Or what's it called?
I think it's called that.
I think
Yeah.
it's called antibodies.
No,
Because that's a foreign.
it might be called antibodies in the bloodstream, but I think they call it. What do they call it when you get bit? Antivenom, right?
I think it's anti-venom.
I'm guessing it's antibodies, and
I don't have
then
an-
they turn it into anti-venom.
That's what I'm saying. In the body. Yeah. Well, if I look it up, it's the guy from the
Coyote? Is it Coyote?
Tom Hardy, who plays Venom.
yeah.
It's Tom Hardy.
So
That's funny.
snake antivenom are the specific treatment for envenoming by snake bites. So antivenoms
Cool word.
can prevent or reverse most snake bite effects. So basically, yeah, you're pulling the antibodies out of the blood and then spinning it into antivenom, whatever they do with that. But those
Okay.
antibodies make up the antivenom.
So essentially, it's like a snake vaccine.
Yeah.
Well, the vaccine would be before you got bit.
Yeah, and then you don't get mind control. You're not full of like a tracker at the government.
So that's kind of cool. It's a little messed up that they do that to the horses, but at the same
Yeah,
time,
they don't tell you that.
yeah, who cares though? If you got bit by a snake, you're like,
You'd be doing anything.
you're like, it's it wasn't a human at least. Put it in me.
Yeah.
You know?
Occasionally, you'll
Filter
hear
it out.
You'll hear these stories about like some tour guide in South America who gets bit by a viper. I forget who was telling me the story, but I think it was potentially a story my dad had heard while he was in South America when he was in the military, where a guy got bit by a viper. He was like cutting brush, got bit, and without any hesitation, he just put his arm up on a tree and bam, right off. Because he just knew that he'd be dead. There was no way he was, and then he just tourniqueted it and then got out.
Oh my
He just
god.
he knew that there was no chance of surviving if he just didn't get rid
to
of
that
it immediately.
specific snake, probably.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Imagine.
Do you think you'd have the cojones to do that, AJ?
I mean, if I'm well aware that I'm dead in 10 minutes, I mean, hopefully I have a hard enough cleaver shot and the arm comes off. But dang.
That's like The Walking Dead when you watch the show and they get bit by the zombie and they're like, hurry up and cut off whatever.
Imagine how hard you have to hit to go get through a bone.
What if he misidentified the snake and it wasn't even venom?
He just got his arm up for no reason. Someone walks. What are you doing?
Oh my goodness.
It's a gardener snake.
He's like,
You're the tour guide?
oh, you're what a prank that'd be though. Like
Get
if,
someone to cut their arm
no,
off.
no. I mean like if you convinced a group of people that you got like say you're the tour guide.
Oh, it's part of the. It's
and
a
you're
bit.
putting up a whole bit where you're like
I like
oh
that.
my god, and you're like losing it. Everyone's like, you gotta cut off his arm, and they're like holding them down, and they're like, oh, the kids are crazy. Maybe not.
That'd be a good way to get sued.
I'm not in hospitality, so. Wow, we went to. Why do we always have to take it to the darkest place?
Because it's funny.
Because it's funny.
It is. It's because it's funny.
Makes me happy.
So, a total different angle on this whole thing. And this guy, I would not be jealous of the guy that got his arm cut off, but I would totally be jealous of this guy. So, the guy's name is Jam Ferguson. I'm sorry if I'm messing that up, but your name's Jam. I gotta assume it's Jam.
That's
But
awesome.
Jam Ferguson, near Knoxville, Tennessee, was fishing a small inland pond that was spring-fed, pretty deep, very weedy, and he was running a 2-inch grub on an 1/8-ounce jig. Doesn't say line size, and he hooked into a monster crappie, black crappie, new world record.
World record?
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah, for a black crappie. So the biggest crappie I've ever caught was probably 15 inches, and it was probably 2.5 pounds.
In Texas.
And I was running around nude,
Oh, yeah.
bragging to everyone that would listen about
Why
it.
were you nude?
I don't know. I'm just trying to.
Dancing around a
I'm
fire.
trying to make it obvious how excited I was about this
Oh.
fish. Yeah, I was. I mean, we don't know if I'm part
You a
Native
streaker?
American.
It sounds like he just wants to get naked.
Yeah, well, any excuse, and a 2.5 pound crappie will do that to you. Have you caught a 2.5 inch or 2.5 pound crappie? Then you don't know.
Do you know what it's like to run around naked?
Okay, then no, it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's very cooling.
So it was 5 pounds, 7 ounces, 19.25 inches long.
It looked like a perfect sphere.
It's
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that's a
That's huge.
big crappie. Yeah, they said it took him like 5 minutes to bring it in. I assume he was probably running like 4 or 5 pound line, maybe
Yeah,
6 at
he
the
had to
most.
keep the drag real light.
Yeah, and he's probably thought it was a bass too.
Yeah,
You know,
the way it was fighting.
crappie fight okay.
That'd be pretty cool.
Crappie are my favorite panfish. I just think,
Yeah.
although that one's not really a panfish anymore. That's a
A
gotta
bucket
get
fish.
the old salmon fillet knife out for that one.
Yeah.
I wonder how it would taste.
Yeah, I'm curious too.
Do you happen to know what the previous record was? Like how much he beat it by?
There was a few on there. The white crappie was actually longer. That won the record that holds the white crappie.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I didn't see it. And the other thing was like the one that held the record, I know held it for like 50 years or something. And then there's people saying like it's really hard to judge whether or not, like back then, if the scales were accurate and this and that, and
yeah.
like what's a fish story and what isn't, and you know that so it's like,
Like someone just made up a record to beat.
but they're like, this guy did it all right too. He had a DNR officer there. Now they had it weighed officially, but when it was measured, the DNR person wasn't there. So,
Okay.
but they verified the weight. So no matter what, he wins.
I
But-
wonder. You couldn't just do it with a picture either.
No.
How would you do that?
Oh, you got to take it. You got to take it to a facility. You immediately get it in a freezer if you think you got something, and then
Yeah.
you got to take. You call the DNR office, take it somewhere, have them professionally weigh and scale it and stuff like that.
Who? Yeah, I guess that's cool. Why so much work though?
Well, how do you
Well, if
prove
you-
it?
if
Because
you get-
anyone could say anything then.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying if you did that
World
just
record.
Yeah, world record, man.
I would do it. I'd
for
go.
what?
Well, I'd end up there naked. Is what I would do.
You're not getting paid for it.
You're in the book.
Yeah, man. From the book. The book.
Guinness Book of World Records book. That's
Yeah,
enough.
you don't want to be in the book.
I don't
wanna-
care about the book.
I wrote the book. No, I'm just kidding. No, I would want to be in the book for
So
sure.
when we were in Texas doing crappie, those were white crappie?
No, those were black.
Were they?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they don't touch that fish.
No.
They don't touch that fish. They were all big, but we were catching 12.
were big.
We were catching 12 to 14 inch crappie.
Mm-hmm.
This thing was 19.25.
Wow.
And there's a lot of crappie that get up to the 12 to 14 range, but almost none of them get up to the 19 range.
No.
You know, that's a big fish. That's a big crappie. I'd be so stoked, man.
Yeah,
I
that would
mean,
be insane.
That'd be, you know, it's funny though that like in the
World
articles,
record.
when they're talking about it, they're like, well, you know, it was caught in a private pond. It's so funny that like as soon as you say it's
Oh,
private,
oh my-
people start crapping on.
He got fed every day at 3 o'clock.
Yep.
Yeah. I
Mm.
mean, probably did.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. What do you mean that it was private? See, you were hating
So
too.
now it's got an asterisk.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But it doesn't matter. I mean, it's still the world record. You know, and he caught it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't. I mean,
Well,
so
what if
so
you have
you.
one in a fish tank and then you put a hook in and catch it. Is that the world record now?
I don't know.
That's a
They
good
also
point.
they did check to make sure it wasn't a hybrid or any other type of species mixed in with it, because white crappie tend to get a little bigger as it is, but it was pure.
I don't know.
The private pond does kind of
Yeah.
meddle it.
It certainly does. But even so, I think you're missing out on the fact that like the genetics and the length you would have to go
That's true.
to scientifically perfectly make that crappie that big would still be a tough thing to do to get it that big.
Yeah.
You'd have to have like the perfect fish. It's like no matter it's not like no matter how much you feed me, I'm not gonna be 6 foot tall. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, all right,
You
that's
know,
fair.
So that's part of it too. It's still an accomplishment, but I get it would be the one that was caught before that was caught like in a river just below a dam,
Yeah.
like legit. So
I don't know.
back in the day.
You can get your name in a book. Cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm proud of him. So, congratulations, Jam.
Yeah, Jam.
That's my jam. So, with that story, we're going to end the Greenway Outdoors podcast for this episode. Check us out every Friday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you are listening to this podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, something like that, go over to our YouTube channel or Carbon TV. Check us out there so you can actually watch it, see all the pictures, see what we're talking about. It's a lot more entertaining. I apologize for being so ugly in advance, but check it out. Thanks so much for tuning in. Stay green.